Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars, welcome to another PlayStation 4 review. Today's review is for Werewolf The Apocalypse Earthblood. Now, this game is advertised as an action RPG. Now, I've played this now for a good few hours, and you'll probably complete this game in about 20 hours, depending on how fast you play these sort of games. I'm almost at the end now, and I'm certainly far enough into this game to know enough about it to give you an in-depth review. And straight off the bat, I would say this is mainly an adventure game. I'd forget about the RPG elements that they're advertising for this game. It is very RPG-like, this game, and essentially it's a game that is actually based on a tabletop game, I believe. I've never played it. I've not really even heard of it, if I'm honest. But I like games like this. I really enjoyed the vampire game that came out a couple of years ago, the Vampire game, and I've always wanted like a role-playing werewolf game. I've always wanted a role-playing vampire game, and we got that with Vampire, and we got that to some degree, or we're getting that to some degree with Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, hopefully coming this year. So to roleplay as a werewolf and to rage out, rip people to pieces, all that kind of stuff, it sounds pretty cool on paper. But unfortunately, what we actually get with this game is a pretty generic, repetitive, old-fashioned action stealth type game. Now, there are some good things in this game. I want to get this straight out of the way because I've read and watched quite a lot of negative reviews of this game, and they are right to some degree. This game is pretty old-fashioned. It's almost like it's a game from 10 years ago. That's certainly what it feels like to me playing it. It's a real throwback to an half-decent PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360 action adventure game. The mechanics are old-fashioned. It doesn't do anything new with them, and you will essentially you are at a bear. I mean, the story here is you are a part of a werewolf pack, and your job is you're called Cain. Kahal, sorry, and you are part of this werewolf pack, and it's your job basically to protect the planet, and you're going up against this huge corporation that's killing the planet slowly but surely, and you're trying to put a stop to all that with you and your pack. At the beginning of the game, tragedy takes place. Your character goes away for 5 years, comes back, nothing's changed really, and then you continue with your fight against this huge corporation that's killing the planet. And the game structure basically consists of, you've got your camp, a fairly basic camp, and you will talk to people in your pack, and then the mission will send you to this corporation, for example, and you will go in there, and missions range from things like planting bombs to hacking computers, so on and so forth. Fairly standard stuff. You'll go in, you'll go through these missions. You can stealth your way through many of the missions, many of the sections, by transforming into a wolf, and you can sneak around air ducts, things like that. You can stealth around levels, and the idea here is you thin the herd, if you like. The enemies on this certain section, you can stealth around, take out as many as you want. You can even sabotage certain doors to, if you do get seen or you rage out as the werewolf, there'll be less enemies come through to attack you. Or you can just basically go in there, rage out as a werewolf immediately, and just take on everybody. And once you've taken out everybody in that section of the map, you'll turn back into Kahal and then move on to the next bit. So it's rinse and repeat basically. And as you progress through the game, there are different enemies. So early on, it's just human enemies. Some with shotguns, some with shields. As you move through the game, you'll get big mech type machines, a bit like from Aliens that Sigourney Weaver fought the Alien Queen with, something like that. Flying robots, and then even about halfway through the game, the enemies kind of change up again, and I don't want to spoil that to something, you know, like human soldiers that have been experimented on type things, you know, the sort of thing. So, and that is it. The mission structure, really. You're going through these levels, and they're quite bog standard, generic environments, warehousey type things, up and down lifts. It doesn't really encourage exploration. There's nothing to find on these levels other than a little bit of stuff to read, some stuff to pick up like crossbows, because you do have the option of, you know, taking out some people with crossbows and things like that. If I'm honest, I have experimented with both the stealth, the crossbow stuff, and just the raging out and taking everybody out, and everything is viable here, really. The more difficult the game, in the sense of the difficulty level, obviously it's going to be more difficult to get through these levels. Never found it a problem doing either the stealth or the raging out, and so it allows you to approach it in the way you want to approach it. Doesn't punish you either way, but it also begs the question, why stealth if you can just go in and rage out? You're a werewolf, for goodness sake. Why do you want to sneak around the place? Just rage out and, you know, turn everybody into, like, you know, human, you know, shredding machines. Just shred everybody if you want to do that. So it begs the question, why put these mechanics in if there's not really much point doing them? If I'm honest, I personally think the game looks fairly terrible at times. It looks like a PlayStation 3 game, a bang average PlayStation 3 game at times. Some of the character models look shockingly bad, I think, and some of them look half decent. I think the werewolf animations are okay. The conversations and the dialogue are dull as dishwater, if I'm being honest here. Not really an inspired story. The voice acting isn't enthusiastic. I mean, the voice acting for Kahal, the main character, is completely devoid of any personality. So you'll find yourself skipping conversations. I did eventually, about, you know, 6-7 hours into the game. It wasn't gripping me, this story. It was just basically go to this place, get through this building, do your mission, get out, and that's it really. It never really got much more different than that. It was basically just repeat, rinse and repeat. The AI of the enemies is pretty appalling. Sneaking around, you'll almost take people out in full view of others, and, you know, they'll barely do anything. There are some side missions within main missions, and by that it might mean, right, you've got to do this main mission, plant this bomb, but while you're doing that, can you go and question this scientist? Or while you're doing this, can you go and get this data off this computer? That sort of stuff, really. It is not much more in depth than that. There is a skill tree here, but it is one of the most basic skill trees I've ever seen on a game that advertises itself, or certainly have seen it advertised as an RPG. You can upgrade certain aspects of your character, and it's one of those, when you upgrade, other than like adding to your crossbows or adding a new ability to your werewolf, you know, like a roar that will knock down enemies, they don't seem to make that much of a difference in the game. And that's it, really. I mean, it's developed by Cyanide. They've got a fairly decent reputation for doing like middling games, I suppose you could say. I've just not been impressed with this game. I wanted so much more from it, and it just didn't do it. I mean, it runs nice and smooth. I've not had any major problems. I've had a couple of audio glitches, and I've had one freeze, and I had to restart from the last checkpoint. Other than that, I've had no issues at all playing the game. It's not really much else to speak of. It's one of those games that, you know, you see some gameplay of it and you see the trailers of it, and it's exactly what you expect from the game. Sometimes the game surprises you and it gives you more than you expect. This game doesn't. It doesn't give you anything more than it says on the tin. It's not a bad game, it's just a really dated game. All the mechanics are quite dated. I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Like I say, it's not a bad game, but at the same time, it doesn't. I don't want to play it again. Put it that way. It's not one of those games. So that is my review for Werewolf The Apocalypse Earthblood. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching, and of course I will be back with more reviews and content on Screen Stars very, very soon.